All right, guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate. I'm your host, Dean Harris, and as always, I'm with Mr. Douglas Skipworth. How are you,
Hey,
buddy?
man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast, guys, to give you the boots on the ground knowledge to be a successful real estate investor here in Memphis. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on our YouTube channel, Spotify, Facebook, wherever you listen to your podcast. Please like and subscribe to that. Show sponsors are listed on our screen below there. We cannot do this podcast without them and their support. So please engage with those guys. They help us in our business and the podcast here. They're really great partners. Zoom calls, if you guys are interested in that Zoom call, email me, dean@CrestCore.com. I always help buyers and sellers here in Memphis. If you're buying real estate, if you're selling real estate, doesn't matter what it is, shoot me an email, dean@CrestCore.com, and I will get you all set up. Today's podcast is going to be really good. We're piggybacking off the last podcast where we spoke about new investors, newbies. What are you guys doing? We had 4 or 5 different topics and pillars to things to think about and to focus on. Today, we're going to shift that to seasoned investors.
Yes.
If you're a seasoned investor, if you've got a rental portfolio, if you're that guy or gal out there that you would consider yourself seasoned, today's podcast is for you. So let's dive right into that. When I think of a seasoned investor, just the actual definition of a seasoned investor, to me, means you own several. I would like to, if I put a number on it, I'd say over 5. Maybe doing it for a couple of years, I would consider you seasoned. Are you over the top, filled with knowledge and experience? No, but I would consider you a seasoned investor because you've been through transactions, you've had rent collections, you've gone through some hurdles, you've bought something, you maybe have already sold something if it didn't work. So that's kind of my definition of a seasoned investor, someone with some experience. And I don't mean, no offense to you guys that just bought your first one, but you're not a seasoned investor yet. You've got to go through a few things. So seasoned investors, one of my first, questions is like, what are you doing in this market? What are you, if you're not buying, and I don't know why you wouldn't be, but if you're that guy or gal that's sitting there saying, I'm not buying, then I want to know what you're doing. Are you just collecting rent and hoping things get better, or you've reached your max? Hey, Dean, I bought 25. That's all I'm going to buy. Okay. I'd love to hear that. What are you doing as a seasoned investor? What are some things that pop in your mind first that you might think of as a seasoned investor and what they might be doing right now in this market?
Yeah. I mean, I think I like kind of what you talked about, being a seasoned investor, and kind of I might consider it months of properties owned. So like how per unit. So like if you own 2 units for a year, to me, that's 24 months of investing experience.
There you go.
If you own 1 unit for 2 years, that's 24 months.
Yeah.
If you own 6, do the math, and it's months of investing experience by unit. So because you and I know, if you own 10 units for 2 years, you're going to see an eviction. You're going to see potentially see an eviction, a tree fall on a house, a roof leak, a sewer back up. Again, this is not new. There's some, in general, this is what you're going to see. Versus if you have one house for 10 years, you might have the same tenant live there for 10 years, collect the rents, mailbox money. It might not be the same experience that you would have doing that. So I like the way you said that.
There's definitely a definition.
Yeah.
There's definitely you either are or you aren't. So that's good.
Yeah. Thinking about that and just how you're building that experience monthly. I think about it months per, unit per month. So how many, so that you building that experience because you're just seeing so much.
Yeah.
And so what are you doing? So I think we talked about this a few weeks ago. Man, I went back and looked at some of the first 2 fixed rates I had was 8.5 and 8.8. So that's right now. I mean, it's like that's so like you. I've been able.
What you do?
Yeah, right.
So
we weren't even talking about that being a high rate. It's like, okay, the numbers work. What's the finance rate? Okay, all right. Let me get that one closed so I can go look at the next deal.
Yeah.
And so, as rates have plateaued, I think you have seen more investors come back out, even experienced and beginners, and are buying now. So, for the experience, even the big institutional investors, the Wall Street backed investors, are back active buying.
Yes.
So to me, if you're a seasoned investor, I think you're buying now. I think you're actively looking for opportunities.
Yes.
Even if you had clammed up a little bit, now you're back. The sun's out, the clouds, the ground's not all dry, but the clouds are out. The rain has stopped.
One of my first things was, are you buying right now? And the response to that was, we are.
Yeah.
I don't typically share a ton of this, but I'm buying a large package of homes.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Large package. Separate that into single one-offs, and I'm going to close. I haven't closed them all yet, but I'm going to close 16 this year. I've closed 11 of them.
Yes.
5 more this year closed.
Yeah.
At 8,
Right.
I'm not getting any kind of special rate at 8-something%, 8
Yeah.
and a half or whatever that it is. And you might say, why? And we talked about this in the last podcast, but I think it's important. Our prices, we did the zip code breakdown.
Yes.
From July of 22 to July of 23, we're down 54% in transactions,
Correct.
but our prices have stayed the same.
Correct.
Go back and reference our numbers from Chandler reports. You can look and say, prices stayed the same. Our transactions dropped 54%. When the rates come down again, when they do, how they do, I don't know. No one knows. That's not what I'm here to predict. When they do, and we do know they will, when they come back down, the values and the prices are going to go up. If you don't feel like there's going to be an influx of buyers that come in when the rate drops, the price goes up, I think you're wrong. So you might say, why? Why in this environment would you buy those? That's the reason why. I'm never going to be, of those 16, I think my average price is going to be around $75,000, and they all need about 30 or whatever the rehab.
Yeah.
So
in them for 100-ish, and they're valued
1,300, and we're never going to get those again.
Mm.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So that's not the podcast. The podcast
Right.
is about seasoned investors. And are you buying? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
I'm buying more than I've ever bought in a single year. And I know you're
super active.
Super
Offering,
active.
got a couple under contract now, but got a couple closed last month. So, back at it, thinking about refining, spend some time. I call it sharpening the saw from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mm-hmm. You're sitting there sharpening the saw, getting better. You're not just
doing nothing.
And so we kind of repositioned the portfolio, and now they're looking for opportunities to kind of backfill as you change your criteria, refine your criteria, hone in on what it is you're looking to do, and now go do it.
The question that would follow up from an investor that after they heard us say, are we buying? And we're like, we're all rah over here about buying.
Right.
It's like, well, how?
How? What
I'd be my first
strategy
question.
to
If I'm listening, I'm on the other end. I'm like, well, tell me.
Yeah.
Since you're so great and you're buying real estate, well, tell me how.
Yeah.
I'm burning them.
Okay.
I don't have anything that I'm not burning right now.
Okay.
That's what's working. Have I always burned? No. But that is what is working and what is available for the most part. There's some matter of fact, I sent out 2 houses today that were in excellent shape and rehabbed and ready for a tenant. So that isn't everything that's out there. But you're asking me what I'm doing.
That's right.
And I'm burring. All 16 of these I'm burring. The other package I'm not. So see, like I'm doing both.
Yeah.
Right? The other big package I said I'm buying, I'm not burning any of those. They're occupied. These 16 though that I've bought throughout the year, every single one of those are a burr. That is, and they're all in that 60 to 80K price range, and they're all in that 20 to 30K rehab range, because the all-in number of 100 to 110 is about all that's working. $180,000 in Cordova is not working right now for me.
For you. Yep.
So
it
could for you. You might pay cash. Then I'll tell you what, if you're paying cash right now, that is working.
Yes.
You are getting lower price deals. They're not 50 cents on the dollar, but they're 85.
Right.
And if the prices are going to go up in the next 3 years, now you've got a huge gap there. So if you're asking me and you challenged me on, well, congratulations on all that bragging success you had. Well, how are you doing that? That is how. The package of homes I'm buying are in good shape. They don't need it. These other ones are all burr deals.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. And the houses I'm selling are for the most part burr deals.
Yeah. Right.
So what is working right now, if you were to ask me that, the burr strategy, which if you're not familiar with that, is buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. It's a Bigger Pockets acronym, but it's that's what I'm doing and what is working.
Yeah.
What are you seeing?
I've seen, I got 2 turnkeys, tenant in place on both, which was great. Worked. Financing, it just all worked. a rehabbed, like
Okay.
you just described, totally rehabbed and rent ready.
Okay.
A burr.
Okay.
And on the burr, the contract or the list price to the accepted offer was about, if I had to do the math, it's probably 47% to list. 47% to list.
Would that have been on the market for a minute?
It'd been on the market 50 days.
So see, if you're not
And you
trying
were
to
just kinda
stab and you're just, I mean,
Yeah. And so it's like, and it was on the market, just kind of looked and said, hey, that's interesting. Make a low-ish offer, and made an offer at, I'd probably call it 75 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
And they came back at 90 cents on the dollar. And I went up to say 77 cents on the dollar. And they said, okay. And so I was like, okay, I need to inspect this house just to make sure. And went back and I was like, oh man, the inspection, it just wasn't what I expected in order to get the financing I was looking. So I was like, I'm at 77 cents on dollar. I need to be at 50 cents on this dollar to make this deal work. 45 cents or whatever it was. And they were like, man, could you be at 60 cents? I was like,
no.
47 cents is all I can do for me. Now, I'm not trying to insult you. That's all. If you want to sell the property,
This is how it's
this is how it's going to work for me, or
Yeah.
else leave it back on the market. And they said,
Yeah.
okay, 47 cents on the dollar. That's okay. And that, I mean, literally found that on Zillow. So no specialized MLS. No, I mean, anybody, anywhere could have found it.
So you can't tell me that it isn't there and it's not out there and you can't find it.
Yeah,
It
simple
is.
burr.
Are your
Simple burr.
bankers talking to you? Are you
Yeah.
speaking with your bankers right now during these times, during these years? I mean, like, it's a rhetorical question, but are they like, have you communicated with them? Do they know what you're doing?
Yes. Remember when we talked, I think it was last episode, maybe when we were talking about beginners, and we were talking about how you build a network and you build it, you maintain it, and you engage it.
Yeah.
This come from a millionaire real estate investor concept. And you build your network, you go out there and you find people, but then you maintain it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're talking about. Like,
Yeah.
you just keep in touch with your
everybody.
network, whether it's your agent, your banker.
Yeah, I use
your
bankers as
property
a reference,
manager.
but I mean, like, yeah, you're everyone. Are you communicating with everybody right now during these times to understand maybe what they're seeing that's working? Believe me, your banker knows what works right now.
Yes.
I mean, his rear end knows what's working. He'll tell you. Your property manager can probably tell you what's renting and renting quick, right?
Yes.
Your
that's right. Yep.
insurance, whoever it is that you can, I can tell you what's selling, right? I mean, I'm the only.
That's why I
agent
love
here
you.
that
I love
sells
your
anything,
I love
right?
your market updates, because you're giving a perspective of, and us talking about like what we're seeing. We're doing this all day, every day.
Right.
This isn't night. I mean, I know maybe for you out there, it's like you do it at nights and weekends or in between times, but like we're doing this nights and weekends and all day, every
all
day.
day,
So
every
it's like
day.
we're seeing a lot and are happy to share that with what we see. I think about like the banker comment, because for seasoned investors, I have experienced this yet again through this, is like when you work with and you have a good relationship with the banker, that the banks, my experience is in times like this, the banks are a little more cautious.
Even mine, even yours.
And so they're a little more tight-fisted with their funds. But the loan officers usually get paid for doing deals. And so they don't have as many opportunities. So if you have an opportunity as one of their better clients, best clients, favorite clients, whatever, that you are usually able to get better deals and more deals done with less pushback during the hard times, because the loan officers want to do deals and you're a known commodity with the bank. So
known commodity.
You all of a sudden, you're getting something that like, gosh, I thought this was supposed to be harder. These are hard times. Why am I getting this? It's usually they make this harder for me to jump through the hoops because they have so many deals to look at. Here, they just don't have many deals.
I'll give you a scenario.
Yeah, please.
So I've got two banks here in town that I have lines of credit with that I burn my properties. That's no secret. I've told everybody that. One of them has change things up a little bit on how they want a loan, and they want a little down payment on some other area, on your borrowed amount.
You're just getting a little tighter on their criteria.
And they're my smaller bank of in my portfolio. They have the least amount of paper on mine. So I went to my other that has the bigger portion or whatever, and I just said, hey, I'm interested in still continuing to buy. This is how I'm going to buy the same way we've been buying. Is that okay? Dean, we are taking some company policy changes. We're looking at adjusting how we do the lines of credit. But because you've had this line of credit and because we have X amount of houses with you right now, just continue on with your business and go. It's a perfect example of keeping up with your bankers and keeping up with the contacts and letting them know what you're doing, letting them know why. Because I explained them to him. Because he asked me the question. He goes, well, why are you buying right now? He's a banker, not an investor. Why are you buying in this market climate? And I sat down there and told him exactly why and what. And he just looked at me right across the face like, man, that's great. I mean, he didn't have anything to say other than, man, that is great. It's like, that sounds like you've got a plan. Now, I'm not buying recklessly and I'm not just buying anything. I mean, I'm being pretty strict with what I'm doing, and he knows that. The burst strategy for bankers, we talked about this, is very popular. If they have to they always have to bank you like they're going to take the property back. Of course. They've got to bank on default. So if they're going to have to take a property back, they've got 80% or 20% to 25% equity in it, and it's been rehabbed recently. They love it. Right? So to me, keeping up with your bankers, letting them know what you're doing. I wrote bankers specifically, but you should keep up with everybody. The next thing is, what are you doing to get better in this climate? What are you doing as a seasoned investor? You know it all already, right? We all do, right? We all know everything about our own business and how to do it. So you're already a know-it-all. What are you doing to get better? What are you doing to change your business, to improve it? My first thought is, are you reading? Are you talking to other investors and seeing what they're doing? I know when I learn a little bit differently than others. Like I learn visually. So I learned short story, my first job in real estate was in new construction. I sat in a model home and we had a sales meeting every week, right? Every week we would all come into this one house and sit there and we would all talk about our contracts that we wrote that week, the scenario with them. It was the most beneficial thing to me in my whole real estate career because I got to hear and listen to other people and what they were going through. Yeah. You need to talk to other investors and hear what they're going through. Hey, I'm struggling with this right now, or I'm kicking ass with this right now, or whatever it is that they're doing. You want to hear about that. So to me, spending more time in the field? Are you going to houses? Like, those are the questions I'm asking. Yeah. I'm curious what you think, but those are the questions I'm asking my seasoned guys now when they say, hey, I can't buy anything. Like my first question is, well, then what are you doing? If you can't make a deal work right now, then what are you doing?
Yeah, I think that's great reading. I mean, I mentioned I reread Rich Dad Poor Dad, a couple months ago. Yep. Reread Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and just fresh eyes. Been a while. I'm like, man, these are great books. Oh, I need to get back to this. Oh, this is why I started this. So many good things. Always on Bigger Pockets, listening and participating in forums and blogs. But I do agree with you about talking with other investors. One thing I found that's been good is going to some investors who aren't I'm in the chapter in front of them, right? Yeah. So I'm looking back and being able to share, and they're asking good questions and reminding and saying, hey, oh yeah, I need to tell you, here's what I did. And by being active, we talked about this, just making offers. Like you can write a contract, you can make an offer, and it doesn't, I think about your team. You will write up an offer for any investor.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't care what it is.
Yes. So it's like, okay, come make offers. So knowing that, hey, I don't have to do it. I find a house on Zillow and say, Dean, I'm interested in making an offer on this house. What name do you want to buy it under? Your questions is like, what name do you want to buy it under? How much you want to pay?
Close date.
Who closing attorney? I mean, it's like, it's super simple. Like send it an email. All right. And then you'll come back and say, hey, the seller countered at X. And so, it's been good to be in that practice, to remember. Like I think I told the story earlier, about a house we got under contract, and I went and inspected it, and inspection didn't meet my expectations.
More work than
I thought that I was prepared for. So I came back and said, all right, I got two options here. Yeah. And thinking this is kind of like where kind of what you're doing is like, I would say you're honing your skills during this period. And here's a way to hone a skill that I was like, oh, I want to see how this works. I really need to pay. If I'm going to pay for the price they want, it needs to be on my terms. You know, if it's going to be my price, then it can be on their terms. So if they want, you know, let's just use, they want $75,000. I presented, you might not have seen it, but I presented it back to your team. Owner financing said, I can pay $75,000, but it needs to be, you know, I got to pay you monthly for this month. I'll put a teeny bit down and do this. Or if you want cash, which is kind of your terms, I can only pay this amount, which is significantly less than 75. And in that scenario, they had that choice. Which one, do you want your money or do you want your cash, your terms?
One do you want?
Which one's more important? They, you know, your price or your cash. They wanted the cash, so they came down here and essentially, with one negotiation, came down here.
That's right.
So, and again, the point being, hey, I'm working a strategy. I'm trying to figure out during this time, while I have a little extra time.
Yes.
Because it's not like 50 offers, highest and best, got to get it out. Do this. It's like, oh man, we got time to go back and learn things. And your team is gracious enough to help me work on some stuff like that.
Yeah.
And could help anybody, help you right there. Learn how to make offers, learn how to negotiate, learn how to do inspection periods.
Especially if you haven't and you need to get back into that.
Right.
I mean,
yes. In speaking specifically to skilled investors, it's like, doing some things that you have the time to do, to hone and work on strategy, skills, knowledge.
It's your bye week. You're an NFL team and this is your bye week. You got to work on the basics and the fundamentals. This is your time to get better. If you're not buying because you can't make it work, this is your bye week in the NFL, in college, whatever it is.
Yeah, we love that's sports exactly. That's a great analogy.
It's the All-Star break in the NBA. It's the whatever. It's just your time to get better and to hone the skills that you've worked on and you have mastered. You're just going back to them. So
that's good.
Treat this as your bye week if you're not buying right now. All right. If you are buying right now, I think you're smart and I think you're savvy and I think you're going to be ahead in the long run. But if you're the guy and gal that decides right now is not the time, I would encourage you to listen to this and figure out what you can do to make your business better.
Yeah, hey, and the last thing, I just look back at my notes since even as we were talking about our bankers, just a shout out to show sponsor Corland, because hard money lenders right now, this is when they thrive.
Yeah.
And they are doing deals and looking at opportunities and they are quick. And I have used them recently and frequently, and it's been a great resource.
Great tool. Yeah.
As other bankers aren't as excited about doing deals, and they are super fast.
Yes. If you have any questions on that, email me in and I'll connect you guys.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I think I can definitely help you with Corland, as they've helped us many times. Anything else on this one?
No, that's great.
Thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed our seasoned investor talk. If you have any questions, Dean at CrestCore.com. We'll see you next time.